And the Islamic State came with an Islamic or Islamist program. And earlier, we have an experience, the history have experience with Islamic program that worked excellent for the history of Egypt and the history of the Arabs. So if there could be any comparison between the Islamic program that the Brotherhood is calling for. Maybe they didn't have enough time to achieve it. Maybe they were interrupted and challenged by the many sit-ins and the protest campaigns that followed in after this graceful revolution through their year in power. Or there is no comparison between the real Islamic program. I mean, what are the characteristics of a real Islamic program and how different is it from the Renaissance?
Okay, back to the history directly. If I try to tell you that one time I was in London, and I just visited one of the very public library there in London. You will find that the technical Islamic books, which it's already had been highlighted that the radical of Islam, which is very strong, which in the middle of the Hijri.
And we have good examples.
Exactly. If you try to find a way, we have a lot of branches was very conservative and concentrated on the basis of Islam, so which is coming with a science. Back to who is a scientist in our history. We have Ibn Sina, we have Al-Jabir ibn Hayyan, we have Hassan ibn Haytham. Consider how that Islamic published in the world. It's published because I already read up and raised up the sword or what I did.
So it depended on science but not religion.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
experiments.
So the story is coming to the story. If the Islamic would like is coming with a program, the program cannot achieve currently in Egypt because I cannot achieve the goals without a contribution of what we have in the country. We have many religions. We don't have just the main standard religion we have. We have Islamic and Copts. So if I would like to do that, we have a part that's supposed to be shared with us in that program. Second, back to the comparison between the history of Islamic and the currently program of Islam. The history of Islamic that the whole world understood and wondered and accepted the Islamic because it's a merger of science with a religion. Science that's they are a very strong approach about the very approach of researching in the medicine approach about the earth science, approach about the mathematics, approach about everything in the life. And also they have a patent. They have a lot of positively science allow to the criticians continue with the benefit of the life. That's mean it's coming with a message. But the message in the taste-wise, the taste is different. The taste was science accomplished with the religion. Now, I cannot achieve religion only because I shall be strong in front of the others. We have an internship. We have a communications with the external media. And the external media cannot respect that that's coming with a religion only. Back again to the mechanism of the religion across the world. There is a lot of religion mechanism, orientation already destroyed. If it's said to be the Christian religion in the mid of center of Europe century is already destroyed, is not continued. If you back to all Islamics, destroyed, is not continued. If you go for any certain, like in Russian or in China or something like that, the religion, it's coming a small portion by portion. So it cannot be big constitute to spread it to the world unless it's mixed with the science. And the science is the base with the religion. Back again, if the programs is not considered that the science technology supposed to lead in front of the religion, it cannot succeed. And it's clear a message now. I'm coming to what? To convert completely the Egypt to be Islamic, but the contribution of Egypt already evaluated that it's an Islamic country. The contribution of Egypt is Islamic leading the all Arabian countries, but under which circumstance? Many circumstances. Big army, big relation, big effectiveness in the Middle East, and also a wealthy in the incomes. And we have a lot of features allow us to lead the whole European. And by this condition is not Islamic side. Islamic, yes, is the base, is the core, is orientation. Okay, but what else? Can I deliver something to the world? Can I deliver some interrelation with the world? Can I do some benefits of my neighbors? Can I effectively show it to the world that even my word, even my decision as a country located in the Middle East, can I be effectively? This is cannot be relation.
Well, what are your expectations for the ongoing protests and, of course, the mass protests that is planned for on June 30th? I mean, for example, the Tamarrud or Rebel campaign has been planning mass demonstrations on June 30th, and we've seen the President Morsi's supporters attacking this campaign, attacking the demonstrations that are going to take place, and they have hinted at violent attacks.
Yeah. Actually, we are in front of two completely different pictures now. From Tamarrud point of view, from Tamarrud side, let's say it was really the first time that we find a real organization, and this was lacking compared to the previous period. Since 2 years, really the oppositions and other groups, small groups, let's say, they were not in the same level of organization as Tamarrud nowadays. I mean, say, they went through what we call the total system. If you want to approach an idea, if you want to go for a certain target or objective, you have to go through all small details. This is what we call the organization. And this was really the main benefit or the main characteristic of the Muslim Brotherhood. We all know this. And the way that they organize themselves, etc. And I find nowadays the opposition led by Tamarrud and, let's say, youth. Youth here is a very important factor. I mean, say, youth now is leading technology, leading means of communication is completely different than the, let's say, classic way of communicating with people. That's why I'm saying Tamarrud, they found what we said, creative solutions. This is what the President was mentioning lately. On the other side, or the other scene, we see a classic demonstration. Again and again, the President means Islam. Egypt means Islam. I mean, say, everything is led by Islam. It means that it's a way to fear people. If you don't join us, it means that you are out of the frame of the Islam. If you don't support the President, so you are not supporting Islam. And this is really extremely bad for the image of the President. We should not interrelate both of them. It's very bad. It's not in his favor. On the contrary, these people are harming his image, whether internally or even externally. In the coming back to Tamarrud, and this is very, let's say, intelligent point in terms of organization, they were directing the message not for the Egyptians. It was to the foreigners. It was for the outsiders, for the international community. These people, because we are too close to this international community, etc., they understand only papers, blueprint. This is what they understand.
So we're giving you proof.
Exactly. We have the proof. It's like, let's say, a simulation of another election or pre-elections. If we can achieve the moment that we can do a pre-presidential election, it's already done. Let's say Tamarrud has done, this is the results. I mean, we group 15 million, it means this is another elections. 15 million of Egyptians, they agreed to do pre-elections, presidential pre-elections. So they have found the language, the common language, the correct language to address the speech internally and externally. And from my point of view, it's much more important externally, because internally, you know, people, we know what's going on. But
it's a message to the world.
It's a message. And I think it's one of the very few times that we are enhancing the image of the Egyptians outside. Now people, they come back and start to respect our image outside Egypt. I'm in contact with so many people outside Egypt, and this is what they are saying. Before that, really, we have lost a lot.
Now, of course, we're going to discuss this further and what the Tamarrud campaign really accomplished on June 30th, but we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to take a look at a short documentary showing us the timeline of the January 25th revolution and how we have come to this point. We'll be right back.
لقد تابعت أولا بأول التظاهرات وما نادت به ودعت إليه. كانت تعليماتي للحكومة تشدد على إتاحة الفرصة أمامها للتعبير عن آراء المواطنين ومطالبهم. أهيب بشبابنا وبكل مصري ومصرية مراعاة صالح الوطن وأن يتصدوا لحماية وطنهم ومكتسباتهم.
أن أحافظ مخلصا على النظام الجمهوري وأن أحترم الدستور والقانون وأن أرعى مصالح الشعب رعاية كاملة وأن أحافظ على استقلال الوطن وسلامة أراضيه.
Welcome back. We're still on our discussion on upcoming June 30th. That's very soon, of course, the final countdown to the protest campaign that was launched by the petition by the youthful protesters and the opposition for fulfilling the demands of January, the graceful January 25th revolution that was never fulfilled. My question is for you both gentlemen. Earlier, Dr. Bartash raised the concern of international community and the Western world by this petition, the protest campaign, the petition of Tamarrud, and the opposition also, to try to raise their concern by signing in this petition. But let me talk to you about the U.S. stance. Earlier, Her Excellency Ambassador Patterson released some statements that weren't really amicable to the opposition, and it was described by the opposition as blatant interference in Egypt's internal affairs. Because she talked about the army and the interference of the army and how Egypt should look forward towards its development and how it's looking for its future, and this is not the right path. And then John Kerry came and released different statements that looks like they were contradicting each other. So do you think the U.S., of course, while it's looking to fulfill its interest in developing world, would change its cards or its heart when they see that the regimes they are supporting not playing its cards well? Would we wake up one day and see the U.S. taking another stance?
I leave the board for the situation for you, and I will care about what is going on recently.
Well, it's quite simple. What you mentioned is completely right, and this is the American policy always. It's not the first time, and they have played the same cards with the previous regime. I mean, say to have a contradicting speech, and the foreign minister, for instance, is depicting certain speeches, and then comes later on, and then changing, and then smoothing the speech, and then it's coming more stronger, etc. It's really we should know that all these statements coming from the States is following the street. This is what we have realized during the revolution and before and after. I mean, say, who is determining this is people in the street nowadays. Who determined this before? People in the street.
Or following the power of the power balance. If the power balance is changed, then the policy is changed.
The power balance is coming from the street, is coming from the people, is the source of power. People are the source of power. And what I'm saying always, although we don't have a high rate of education, or the education level in Egypt actually, sadly, is too low, but Egyptians, generally speaking, we have something what we call emotional intelligence. I mean, say we understand, we feel a part of or out of the economic boundaries and political boundaries. We have this, let's say, feeling towards the streets and what we need exactly. And this is what the regimes does not really understand. And it's part of the complications of the Egyptian society. But it's very positive in a way that we lead the leaders. I mean, say the public can lead the leaders. And this is what we have seen during the Revolution 25th and even nowadays. And this, the reflecting of this movement is impacting positively on the, let's say, foreign point of view, from the States' point of view, the American States' point of view, or from the European point of view, etc.
Let me just hang on and directly to the language of the state. The language of the state across the world is very simple. What is the benefits in outs from this each country in the world, and how I can support it? The main issue to the state is human rights across the world. The second is try to spread it, the benefits of the internship and the democracy for that countries, and also try to release any kind of colonies, which is supposed to be the voice, freedom, and also the normal life. But let us to go directly and concentrate what is the benefit of the state to the Middle East, and specifically oriented the benefit directly to Egypt.
Very briefly, if you can, because we're unfortunately running out of time.
It's very simple. Egypt is dealing with the stability in the Middle East and specifically close to the boundaries with Israel. If you try to evaluate what the situation in the previous president and the situation currently in the current president in a proportional to the stability of the boundaries between Israel and Egypt, it's a clear answer. There is nothing activities happen since the president Morsi was in the spot till now is coming from Gaza or Hamas in directly to Israel. So that's mean the stabilization of Egypt, which is very supposed or just by the state, if they try to encourage the Islamic group to float it in response for the presidencies of Egypt, it may add a value to keep a controlling eye on the other boundaries. And this is very succeeded, but is not succeeded in proportion to the humanity of the population inside the country, because they tackled the situation in Egypt with negligences related to the freedom, democracy, and the basis requested for the revolution before.
Well, Dr. Mohamed Bartash, economist and freelance journalist, and Dr. Gamal Qalyoubi, professor and economic analyst. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We had so many questions, but hopefully we could discuss this later on.
Thank you.
And with this, we come to the end of the breakfast show for this morning. For the past 90 minutes, it's been Reem Noor and Dina Haseen joining me here. Dina.
Thank you, Reem, very much. Bye-bye.
نزلت وقلت انا مش راجع، وكتبت بدمي في كل شارع، سمعنا اللي ما كانش سامع، واتكسرت كل الموانع، سلاحنا كان احلامنا، وبكره واضح قدامنا، من زمان بنستنى، بندور مش لاقيين مكاننا، في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي، في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي. رفعنا راسنا في السماء والجوع ما بقاش بيهمنا، اهم حاجة حقنا ونكتب تاريخنا بدمنا، لو كنت واحد مننا بلاش ترغي وتقول لنا نمشي ونسيب حلمنا، وبطل تقول كلمة أنا، في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي، في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي.
أيادي مصرية سمرة ليها في التمييز، ممدودة وسط الزئير بتكسر البراويز، بديع قلبوا خريفها ربيع وحققوا المعجزة صحوا القتيل من القتل. اقتلني قتلي ما هيعيد دولتك تاني. بكتب بدمي حياة تانية لأوطاني. دمي ده ولا الربيع الاتنين بلون أخضر وببتسم من سعادتي ولا أحزاني.
في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي. في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي. في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي. في كل شارع في بلادي صوت الحرية بينادي.
Il est 10h au Caire, nous commençons nos émissions en langue française qui se poursuivent jusqu'à 13h heure locale du Caire et reprennent cet après-midi à 17h heure locale du Caire. De suite, nous commençons un journal télévisé complet avant d'être toujours de vous présenter un compte-rendu sur cette journée d'aujourd'hui, puisque nous sommes toujours dans 2 ou 3 jours de manifestations, grandes manifestations à travers toute l'Égypte. Et nous aurions une couverture spéciale pour cette matinée de ce samedi 29 juin 2013. Je commence le journal avec bien sûr la situation en Égypte et les manifestations à travers tout le pays. C'est hier que 3 personnes, dont un Américain, ont été tuées lors de violents heurts entre partisans et opposants du président Mohamed Morsi à l'occasion de manifestations rivales qui ont rassemblé des dizaines de milliers de personnes à travers le pays. Un an après la prise de fonction de Dr Mohamed Morsi, premier président islamiste et civil d'Égypte, ces rassemblements rivaux témoignent des divisions croissantes dans le pays et les accrochages font craindre une propagation des troubles. Mohamed Al-Homossani et Sherif Boussela vous donnent les détails sur la situation hier en Égypte.
Des milliers de manifestants anti-Morsi défilaient sous des drapeaux égyptiens et au cri de « dégage » sur l'emblématique place Tahrir du Caire ainsi que dans le delta du Nil et à Port Saïd. Malgré le déploiement policier de l'armée pour protéger les installations vitales, de violents heurts ont éclaté entre pro et anti-Morsi à Alexandrie, deuxième ville du pays, où un Égyptien et un Américain ont été tués. Les États-Unis ont confirmé la mort de l'un de leurs ressortissants. Selon le chef de la sécurité à Alexandrie, les jeunes hommes qui travaillaient au centre culturel américain d'Alexandrie prenaient des photos quand il a été tué dans des heures. Par ailleurs, dans la ville de Port Saïd, un journaliste a été tué et plusieurs autres personnes blessées lorsque des inconnus ont lancé un petit engin explosif sur des manifestants anti-Morsi. Ces 3 décès portent à 7 le nombre de personnes tuées depuis mercredi lors de violences dans le pays. Des heurts entre pro et anti-Morsi ont également éclaté en soirée dans les provinces de Dakhleya et Bahira, dans le delta du Nil, selon des responsables qui ont fait état de 130 blessés à travers le pays. Les locaux du siège du Parti de la Liberté et de la Justice, vitrine politique des frères musulmans, ont été en outre incendiés à Alexandrie, de même qu'à Aga, dans la province de Dakhleya. L'opposition et le mouvement populaire Tamarod, Rébellion arabe, ont appelé à manifester dimanche pour demander le départ de Morsi. Tamarod affirme avoir réuni plus de 15 millions de signatures pour une présidentielle anticipée. En prévision de cette mobilisation, des entreprises ont annoncé qu'elles seraient fermées dimanche, journée qui marque le premier anniversaire de l'investiture de M. Morsi et le début de la semaine en Égypte.
Face aux tensions croissantes, le ministre de la Défense, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, a prévenu il y a quelques jours que l'armée interviendrait en cas de violence. À la veille du premier anniversaire de l'élection du président Mohamed Morsi, dont les chefs de file de l'opposition réclament la démission, Le ministre a appelé les Égyptiens à mettre de côté leur clivage, soulignant qu'il est du devoir de l'armée d'empêcher le chaos. Lors d'une rencontre avec des militaires, le général Abdel Fattah el-Sisi a déclaré qu'il est du devoir national et moral de l'armée d'intervenir pour empêcher les violences confessionnelles ou l'effondrement des institutions de l'État. Réagissant, un porte-parole de la présidence, Ehab Fahmi, a affirmé que toute décision prise au sein de l'armée est coordonnée avec le président, qui est le commandant suprême de l'armée. Selon un communiqué de la présidence, Dr Morsi a rencontré dans la soirée le général Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, qui lui a fait un compte rendu des plans et préparatifs des forces armées pour la période à venir. À l'appel des mouvements islamistes, des dizaines de milliers de personnes se sont rassemblées devant la mosquée de Rab'a al-Adawiya de Nasr City, un faubourg du Caire, et ont promis d'y rester pour défendre la légitimité de l'élection de M. Morsi, qui est selon eux une ligne rouge. Des mouvements islamistes ont appelé à manifester à partir d'hier pour soutenir Dr Mohamed Morsi, 2 jours avant un rassemblement pour contester la légitimité du président islamiste, témoignant des clivages croissants dans le pays un an après son succession au pouvoir. Le 21 juin, des dizaines de milliers d'islamistes s'étaient déjà rassemblés au même endroit pour exprimer leur soutien à Dr Morsi, premier président civil d'Égypte.